guys, welcome back to Spelling and Word Study. My name is Mrs. Rhoades and I'm here to get you started on Unit 18, Long O Patterns. Please take a second to gather your materials. You will need your orange book open to page 113. You'll also need some colorful pens, markers, crayons, or highlighters. Remember, whatever I mark on my board, you should be marking on your page. Please save room for a key as well. If at any point I'm moving too fast, please pause the video and catch up. All right, so we have spent several weeks now talking about long vowels. We have learned about some common vowel teams and letter patterns that come together to create a long vowel sound. We talked about long A, long E, and long I. Last week we started learning about long O. We found out that OW is a common pattern at the end of a word in one-syllable words like bow and mo, and in two-syllable words like mellow or shadow or yellow. Well, today we're going to look at some other patterns that make long O sounds. But before we do that, let's read our list. Please repeat after me and try to listen for that O sound in each word. Here we go. Bony, boulder, dough, ghost, hotel, noble, pole, program, robot, scroll, shoulder, smoky, stroll, though, and toll. Okay, hopefully you heard that O sound. So now what I want to do is I want to take our two-syllable words and break them into syllables. That is very helpful when we're learning how to spell and pronounce a word. It also draws our attention to interesting word parts like syllables and prefixes. So let's choose a color and we'll start with bony. Slice it after the O. Boulder after the L. Dough and ghost are both one-syllable words, so we'll leave them alone. Hotel after the O. Noble after the O. Pole, one syllable. Program after the O. Robot after the O. Scroll is one syllable. Shoulder after the L. Smoky after the O. Stroll, though, and toll are all one-syllable words. So in my key, that green vertical line represents a syllable break. Okay. Now, as soon as I break my words into syllables, I start noticing open syllables. Remember, when a syllable ends with one vowel on its own, it's probably going to be a long vowel, and we call that an open syllable. So we see that in bony and hotel. In both cases, that O is long. Noble, program, robot, smoky, and that's it. So red box equals long O, and it has a long O sound because it's an open syllable. Okay? Let's look at the word boulder. OU has lots of different sounds. Sometimes it says ow, sometimes it says ooh, but when we put it before an L, it's usually going to make an O sound. We see that in words like soul and poultry, boulder and shoulder. Okay, so that OUL chunk is going to make a long O sound because of the OUL pattern, okay? Of course, there are exceptions. Foul, like a foul ball, is spelled F-O-U-L. But most of the time, if you see O-U-L together, try the long O sound first. Sole, boulder, shoulder, okay? Another pattern that's really important and really confusing is the O-U-G-H. In our language, there are 6 different ways to pronounce that O-U-G-H sound. Sometimes it says aw in words like bought. Sometimes it says ooh in words like through. Sometimes it says uff in words like tough. But in our list this week, it's saying O. It's making the long O sound. We see that in dough and though, okay? So those are 2 words that you're just gonna have to memorize, but they're both going to have a long O sound because of O-U-G-H. Okay, another pattern that we don't see that often, but it's good to know, is the O-S-T. Now, usually when you see a vowel tucked in the middle of a word like that, you're going to think it makes an ah sound. It's going to be short. But it turns out that O-S-T is usually a long O sound. You see that in words like most and post and host and ghost. And I think that's it. So, this is also representing a long O pattern because of that O-S-T chunk. All right, the last pattern that we need to talk about is the O-L-L. You see that in words like pole and scroll, stroll, and toll. There aren't that many words in our language that have that pattern, but it's good to know them. So wherever we see the purple box, that also represents a long O because of the O-L-L pattern. Okay. I want to talk about the meanings of our words this week. But I also want to draw your attention to some homophones. Several of our words this week sound like other words. They're spelled differently and have different meanings, but they're pronounced the same. So for instance, a boulder is a large rock, okay? Big, giant rock, too big for you to push, too heavy for you to lift, is going to be a boulder. But there's another kind of boulder that's spelled like this. If somebody is more brave than you, they're bolder. So if you're too afraid to raise your hand, your friend might say, oh, I can do it, I'm not afraid. Your friend is probably bolder than you in this situation. So I'm just going to put a squiggle under boulder to remind myself that that's a homophone. Now, dough is another homophone. Dough is what we mix together to make bread, right? We need to make the dough for the bread. We need to make dough for our pizza, cookie dough, spelled like that. But there's another kind of dough that's spelled like this with the O-E vowel team, and that would be a female deer, okay? Dough and dough. Pole is another homophone. The most common meaning of pole is P-O-L-E, like a flag pole or a telephone pole, something that sticks up out of the ground. But this kind of pole would be like a survey. right? So during before a presidential election, there are people who take polls, right? They call you up and say, hey, if the election was today, who would you vote for? This person or this person, right? Or maybe in your classroom, maybe kids take a poll. What's your favorite ice cream? What's your favorite subject? And then they make a graph or a chart. That would be a poll, a survey, or a vote. All right. I don't see any other homophones, but down here on my key, squiggly orange line equals homophone. Okay. I also want to draw your attention to a suffix. Notice the word bony started out as bone, right? A bone is a thing. If you add a Y suffix, you're changing that thing to a describing word. So somebody who's very thin and their bones stick out, they're very bony. So like if you sit on your friend's lap and she's got these bony knees, or you know, she pokes you with her bony elbow, it just means that it's like full of bone, or it feels like bone. So this right here, bony, that's our suffix, okay? We started with the word bone, but then when we added the Y, because Y acts like a vowel, it follows those vowel suffix rules. So just like we have to drop the silent E when we add ing, like when we change make to making, or we add ed, so when we change when we change to changed, we drop that E. Same thing happens here. We drop that E and add our Y. So bone becomes bony. We have that same suffix here in the word smoky. Smoky started as the word smoke, right? But if you go to a campground and lots of people are having campfires and there's lots of smoke rising into the air, then it becomes smoky. Notice once again, we drop that E and add Y. So down here, that brown box represents a suffix, okay? All right, what else do I need to tell you about? Speaking of homophones, when you get to page 116, you have a whole bunch of long O homophones to choose from. So pole versus pole, roll versus roll, dough and dough. So if you don't know what some of these homophones mean, you might need to look them up. All right, before I let you go, let's finish our discussion of the vocab. So we know what bony means, like bony elbows, bony knees, right? They feel like they're made of bone. Boulder, large rock. Dough would be cookie dough. It's also slang for money, like can you lend me some dough? A ghost would be the spirit of a person who has passed. A hotel is a place where people sleep away from home. So if you're going on vacation and you need a place to stay, you might sleep in a hotel. If something is noble or a person is noble, it means they're like good and respectable. So if you find $20 in your school parking lot and you bring it to the secretary in the front office, that's the noble thing to do, right? So when you're being noble, you're thinking about other people's feelings, you're making sure you don't hurt other people. A poll is a vote. A program could be a TV show, like, oh, that cartoon is my favorite program. It can be also like a piece of paper that people give you. So if you're going to a chorus concert, somebody hands you a program and it lists the order of the songs or the different performance groups. So a program is something you open up and it tells you what's going to happen. A robot would be an electronic creature. I bet you guys know that. A scroll is rolled up paper. So in the olden days, before they had printers, they might write something out on paper and then roll it up, and that would be a scroll, right? Shoulder, part of your body. Smoky, full of smoke. Stroll is a way that we walk when we're not in a hurry. So on a beautiful Sunday afternoon, you might stroll through the park. So to stroll is to walk in a slow, happy way. Okay, sometimes we call it a leisurely walk. We're not in a hurry to get anywhere. We're just enjoying our time. Though is another word for but, right? I like pizza, though I think I want to have a burger tonight. And then a toll is something you pay. So it's a payment. And usually it's a payment you pay for like for going on a highway, right? So if you're going to take this highway, you might have to pay a toll of $10. Or you might have to pay a toll to go over a bridge. You might have to pay a toll, I don't know, to travel places. So a payment for travel. In the olden days, we had toll booths. If you think about some highways, they'd have the toll, the turnstile that would come down, and they wouldn't even let you get onto the highway until you paid your toll. That's not so much a thing anymore because everything's electronic. All right, I think that's all I have for you guys today. Good luck, and I'll see you next time.